Getting a break and getting some perspective and stepping back and assessing what's going on around you could be just the thing that you need to get a clearer vision. And then it makes it easier for you to decide if the problem is doing podcasting, or if the problem is bigger than that, or if it isn't really a problem at all and you were just feeling a bit tired and you just need to take a break for a couple of weeks and recharge. You're listening to Podcasting for Experts, with honest conversations about using podcasting as a tool to grow your reach, increase your audience, make a positive impact on the world, and most importantly, to get paid for your efforts. I'm your host, Jess, and we are Pristine Podcasts. Let's talk podcasting. Hey, and welcome back. This is season 3, episode 7. I'm Jess, co-founder at Pristine Podcast, and in today's episode, we will talk all about consistency. So I've already mentioned in, I'm not sure how many episodes by now, that most podcasts that get started just fizzle out eventually. We've talked about pod fade and why it happens a million times. But even podcasters that are committed to doing this long term can struggle with consistency at times. I'm going to be really honest. I am a consistent person when it comes to showing up for the things that are important to me. But I really struggle with doing that on a fixed day, at a fixed time, every single week without fail. So that is not something that comes naturally to me, and it takes a lot of effort, and I work very much with like bursts of energy. Like I'll have a huge burst of energy. Like I'm sitting here right now, 8 p.m. I am feeling zero tired today, so I'm going to go and record this. And if I have more episodes prepared, I'll record another 1, 2, 3, 4, as many as I want to or need to. But then I have other days where I really don't feel like that. So the same thing I know might happen to you. It might happen to anyone else out there. So I'm pretty sure that there isn't a single person on this planet that's doing a podcast that has it totally figured out and never slips up on the consistency front. So to me, this is nothing that you need to be beating yourself up for. I stopped doing that a long time ago. I just try and go with the flow. However, there are things that we can do to simply become more consistent with podcasting. So whenever I'm looking to improve on something, the first thing that I need to do, in my opinion, is to figure out, when are things actually going wrong? So what are the times where I end up not being consistent? And then I kind of look for the reasons why this might be happening. The most common reasons that I've experienced include when I'm feeling absolutely not motivated. That usually happens when I'm very tired and I haven't slept enough for like a number of days, or I've overworked myself and now I feel like everything is just like a huge burden on me. That happens when I have too high expectations of myself that I can't actually physically meet, like expecting myself to work 12-hour days, 5 days in a row without taking any time off. Whenever that happens, guess what? I just go off track completely and I act out on myself, and I'm just like, nope, now I'm going to protest and I'm not going to do anything. If I start fiddling around with stuff too much and I spend too much time on trying to get things right, on getting them perfect, that's also when I stop being consistent, because I simply take way too long getting this thing done, and I hadn't planned to be spending that much time on it, and it's putting my whole schedule out of whack. It also happens to me when I get overwhelmed with my workload in general. So that's not just things to do with the podcast, but that's also things to do with our clients and all of the work that we're doing for them. And whenever I get overwhelmed with my workload, my consistency for content and other things that are not directly related to keeping us afloat, if that makes sense, they kind of tend to take a back seat and I completely forget about their existence. I also struggle with consistency when I get bored with doing things the same way. That is very, very, very common for me. And I think it happens very easily when it comes to podcasting, because realistically, it's just doing the same thing time and time again. I also can get frustrated when I'm not seeing the results that I thought I would be seeing. And then that affects my level of motivation, and therefore I kind of stop being consistent with creating. Sometimes I also just don't feel creative, or I feel like, the kind of blank paper sort of feeling where in that specific moment, I can't come up with a creative idea. That particularly happens to me when I'm rushing things and I've been leaving things to the last minute. I mean, that's not really surprising, right? Like when you're really stressed out, how the heck are you supposed to be, spending time coming up with ideas, seeing connections, when all your mind can think of is all of the things that you need to be doing and how late you are and whatever not. So you have all that negative self-talk going on, you're rushing. That's not a time to be creative. And it also happens to me when I didn't plan any contingency and things have gone wrong, and now I'm in the situation where I am rushing or I am behind. So a lot of times for me, it's actually been bad planning as well. So with these being the main reasons for why I personally don't manage to be consistent, what can we do to make sure that that doesn't happen to us? And I won't say that it will never happen because it's not realistic, but how can we reduce the amount of times that we slip up on the consistency front? So the first thing that I would encourage you to do is just to assess if podcasting is still right for you. So I don't know, if you've been doing your show for like a long ass period of time, in my opinion, it's always worth asking yourself if it's still the right thing for you to be doing right now. And there's nothing wrong with deciding that it's not, Maybe you've already moved on a bit in your head and you're just doing the show because you've always done it, so you don't want to stop doing it. But maybe it's not the right type of content for you to be making anymore, Maybe your business right now needs you to be making video. Maybe your business right now needs you to focus on very optimized, very targeted, long form blog content, Or maybe you're just not vibing with it anymore and you don't actually even know why. You don't always have to have a reason for something. You can just not like it in that moment and just not do it. Something that helps me a lot is to just take a break, and not just take a break from podcasting, but take a break kind of from business or work in general and just step back and reflect on how I'm feeling about life in general, because sometimes it's not just the podcast, it's not just your work, it's not just your clients, it's everything. It could be your private circumstances, the fact that you're feeling more tired, the fact that you haven't been doing as many fun things in your life that could be negatively affecting your mindset towards everything, and that includes your podcast. So getting a break and getting some perspective and stepping back and assessing what's going on around you could be just the thing that you need to get a clearer vision. And then it makes it easier for you to decide if the problem is doing podcasting, or if the problem is bigger than that, or if it isn't really a problem at all and you were just feeling a bit tired and you just need to take a break for a couple of weeks and recharge. The next thing that I would really encourage you to do is to make it fun. So I don't know why everyone is constantly on the track of everything being so serious and it being all about the hustle and whatever not. And I'm totally one for the hustle. Like, you're never going to hear me say that I believe that you can build the most successful business on 5 hours a week from day one. I think that's BS. And I've never subscribed to that. But at the end of the day, I like to work and I like to put the hours in and I like to put the legwork in, and I will do it. But I can try and make it fun, right? So I have to create content for Pristine podcasts. There's no way around it. I struggle to be consistent the more obstacles are in my way. So doing YouTube consistently for me, like right now I'm sitting here, I'm wearing my normal jumper. I did not do my hair. I did not paint my face. I did not do anything. I've actually got about 10 spots on my face that I can't get rid of. So I wouldn't want to record a YouTube video right now, And if someone was waiting on me to produce content now, I don't know, I had these spots on my face for like 5 days now. So they might still be there for another 5 days. So is my YouTube video not going to go out because I don't feel like recording a video right now? But you know what? The podcast can happen regardless. And that's why most likely there's not going to be a video version of the podcast, or it will come with a disclaimer that whatever you're going to see is just me recording a podcast and it won't be very interesting. But you know what I mean? So if I'm doing things, I want to make it fun. So I get myself a nice drink that I like to have. I buy myself a nice scented candle that I put on over here while I sit and work. I put music on. I could switch up the type of content that I produce. Maybe I will stop the solo episodes and do a season getting some guests on board, or vice versa. Maybe I'm going to change the type of content that I create. Maybe I'm going to make more episodes, but make them shorter. Maybe I'm going to play with the format and add more interest to it, like music, different sound effects, things like that. Maybe it's time for me to get myself a co-host and, add a bit more banter to my setup. Or maybe I could even ask someone else in my team to take over the podcast for a little while. Maybe I need to introduce some new features like critiques, or maybe have my audience call in to ask me questions to bring some of the excitement back and make it more interactive. Whenever you're doing something for a really long time, you're always going to run the risk of getting bored with it, and your podcast is no different. So think of ways that you can just change things up. It keeps it interesting for your audience, it keeps it interesting for you, and you will feel way happier to be doing it. The next thing that I want to encourage you to do is to assess the expectations that you have for yourself. I personally tend to have very, very, very high expectations for myself, like unnecessarily high. Like, I think everyone is watching and would judge me if I didn't do all the things that I put on my plate. Meanwhile, nobody cares. And the annoying thing is that I also hold other people to the same expectations that I can't even fulfill myself. So very tricky place to be in. So maybe you're slipping into some perfectionism. Maybe you're expecting way too much from you on the output front. Maybe you're not expecting yourself to take any time off until this is done. Maybe you need to just step back and produce episodes a little bit less frequently, or make them a bit shorter, or lay off the guest interviews if they're taking a really long time for you to edit. Or maybe you even need to get some help. Wink, wink. That's what me and my team are here for. Whatever you need to do, just give yourself a little bit of breathing room. Now's a good time to do it before you completely lose the enthusiasm for everything and you end up totally burned out from just being on the content hamster wheel, Maybe you're feeling bad because you're not seeing the results that you're wanting to see, and that's kind of negatively impacting your level of enthusiasm that you have for your show. If that is the case, I'd first actually make sure that the results that you're looking for, that you were expecting, are actually realistic. I feel like expectations for anything in life are forever going to be the thing that will trip you up, because most things will never, ever match up to the expectation that you have for it. So many people start a business with all these amazing expectations on what the business is going to be like, and that was me. And then I realized that really it's just like working a job, just that you work a lot more hours and you get less money, or the same amount of money, or maybe you get a bit more money, but you do a lot more hours than you get money for. So, And it's like that for quite some time, and nobody tells you about the fact that you might spend 2, 3, 4 years like really building things up, and it's going to take time and time and time and time and time and time. There's too much expectation in relationships, people having these ideals of, this is how we're going to spend every weekend, and this is what my dream partner is going to be like. And meanwhile, actually, what you're looking for is someone that's going to be with you throughout the shitty times, that's not going to run away from problems and things like that. But that's not what our expectation is. We have this fairy tale going on. And the same thing that happens with podcasting as well, You're not going to be the next Joe Rogan ever. You're particularly not going to get to that number of downloads in the next 6 months. So if that was your expectation, I'm sorry to tell you that it probably wasn't quite realistic. So make sure that the thing that you're not achieving isn't just a vanity number that doesn't matter anyways. If it is really a crucial number and you've been podcasting for a while, you've given it 100+ episodes, and you're not really loving it that much, and it's not really doing that much for your business from what you know, then guess what? There's absolutely zero shame in saying, screw it, I'm so glad that I made these episodes. I don't know, I'm so glad that I produced this database of valuable content that I can repurpose for years to come and that I can use as an FAQ database for those questions that people always ask me. But I'm going to announce that I will stop podcasting now. I'm going to record a goodbye episode and be done with it. No need for shame. So it's got nothing to do with failing. If you've just decided that there are some things that you're measuring, like how many people are saying, I found you through your podcast, or how many people are responding positively to your podcast, be it in the actual reviews or on social media, or they're telling you about it, or they're telling other people about it. If there's nothing happening and you're not getting any clients from it, and you don't even like doing it, you have permission to stop. You don't need anyone else to give you permission for that. You can just decide, I am going to stop. Just close the chapter by recording a goodbye episode, just so that you don't leave your people hanging. And if people find your podcast later on, they will see that you've stopped recording so that they won't be waiting and get annoyed with you. If you always find yourself leaving things to the last minute and then having to rush and that really dampening your enthusiasm, then I would very, very, very strongly encourage you to batch your podcast production. And I don't just talk about recording, I mean like batch the shizzle out of everything. That's literally what I do. So I mentioned earlier that I have kind of very varying levels of enthusiasm. There's days where I could work for 15 hours straight and I don't care. I don't need to do anything else. And then there's other days where I wake up and I didn't quite sleep very well and I have a little bit of a headache and it doesn't go the whole day. And, those are not days where I feel like writing scripts or recording. Those are days where I feel like snuggling up in bed, reading a book, just looking after myself and not, working all the hours. I tend to sit in bed with the laptop and get the things done that I need to get done and then close my eyes for a little bit. That's the reason why I went to build a business, because I have shitty days just like other people do. And some days I just don't want to be having to do all the things. So if you're struggling with this kind of timekeeping thing, batching to me has been a lifesaver. I am not the type of batcher that says, okay, next week, Tuesday, I'm going to spend 4 hours script writing. Next week, Wednesday, I'm going to spend 3.25 hours recording. And next week, Thursday, I'm going to make graphics for this amount of time. And on Friday, I'm not like that. On a day where I feel particularly creative, I tend to dump, 2 hours on my calendar for script writing. So then I will open my podcast idea database. I'll pick the upcoming episodes. I will go and write out all the things until I'm literally out of ideas. And then if I still have energy left, I will finish the full script. If I don't, I will leave it. I will come back to it another day where I feel that kind of creative energy. Then on days where I feel more talkative, which is usually the first half of the month to the middle of the month or so, that's when I feel kind of more chatty, more outgoing. That's when I like to record. So that's what's happening right now. It's the 7th of the month and I'm vibing with recording and talking to people and doing interviews and all that good stuff. So that is the time when I put as many blocks on my calendar, be it early in the morning, late in the evenings, whenever the heck I feel like it and I feel like I can keep going. That's when I end up batch recording. And then it could be that at any point I have 8 episodes pre-written, I have 3 pre-recorded, I have 2 interviews in the bank that I've done before. And that's how I tend to batch. And then I hand them off to the team also in batches so that they can edit 2, 3, 4 episodes at a time. And then they come back to the rest of our team for show notes and graphics and that good stuff. So we always try and work a little bit ahead of time so that even if I hit a period where I'm a bit low energy, it doesn't matter if that's a publishing date for the podcast because all the work for it has pretty much already been done. It just takes 10, 15 minutes for someone to go and publish the blog post, and that person doesn't have to be me because we have a process for it that outlines what needs to be done, right? So I like to work in seasons with the podcast because I like that way of thinking. I can have a specific topic. I can take a break in between for a week or 2 if I need to. I have a perfect start and end point to change the format if I like to. Like with this season is the first time that we're having the cold open at the beginning. I like that because it makes my life easier with doing audiograms afterwards as well. So works well for me, gives people a taste of the episode. I like it. Maybe people don't like it. You guys tell me if you like it or not. But when I have a season, it gives me a chance to try something out for 12 episodes to see if I like it or I don't like it. And I can count down, okay, right, we're at 6, we're at 7, we're at 10, we're at 11. Yay, season done. Okay, let's put this away next season. And it makes it way easier for my brain to start and finish something than to know that there's a constant open loop where I constantly have to keep going. Where are we at? I don't know. Something about just counting from 1 to 12 and then starting again at 1 makes sense in my brain for one reason or another. So maybe if this whole last minute scheduling thing is very overwhelming, maybe try and see if a different organizational process, a different way of putting out the episodes, a different way of thinking about the show makes it easier for your brain to deal with the constant repeat of the same tasks, because that's basically what it is, right? Write the episode, record the episode, edit the episode, publish it, promote it, and rinse and repeat, So yeah, maybe that's something that can help you out a little bit as well. Alrighty, I think that's it from me for this episode. If you have any other tips for increasing consistency that have worked really well for you, then I would love to continue this conversation in our Facebook group. It's a really small group at the moment, and I like it to be a little bit more mastermindy, people sharing the things that are working for them and all that good stuff. So if you want to join, you can find us at pristinepodcast.com/group. That's going to redirect you to Facebook and put you in the right place. And then you can just request to join and I'll approve you as soon as I see it. If you enjoyed the show, as always, our entire team would be endlessly grateful if you leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. As always, I hope you have an amazing day, and I will see you for the next episode. That's it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate you. If you are looking for a community where you can brainstorm with like-minded podcasters and business owners, then don't forget to check out our Facebook group. You can find it at pristinepodcast.com/group. The link is also in the show notes.